Welcome to my latest book review. This is for Indian Wars. It was written by Anton Treuer, and he is a Native American author, and this is an interesting book. It covers the total history of the Native American wars from Columbus time all the way up till about 1920, when the last Native American resistance ended. This book was like 300 pages, 305 pages. It had great artwork. I'll make sure I put some in there. I got it from the library. It's from National Geographic, and it had just great information. It was a good reference book. It had before I read it, I never really knew how extensive the war against the Indians was. I thought it was a few battles here, a few battles there. But after reading it, I found out that, you know, there was these extensive wars for hundreds of years with tons of killing on both sides. I will say it was interesting because I already kind of knew about some of the bigger Indian wars and Indian battles. Usually when you read about them in like a textbook or a history book, it's written by a white person, and they refer to when Indians attack white settlers, they call it a massacre, and then when white settlers or the cavalry would attack Native Americans, they call it a battle. So this was kind of like the reverse, because like you said, it's a Native American author, so he really put a lot more emphasis on sort of the Native American point of view, and it was almost like he would, like I said, the exact opposite, where he'd kind of downplay the actions of the Native Americans, where they were like slaughtering settlers, and he called that a battle, or he called it a raid a lot. And then when the cavalry or the settlers would retaliate, that would be a massacre. Now I will say there was just massacres on both sides, slaughters on both sides. So I felt like it was, what I have read before was biased towards white people. This is a little biased towards like Native Americans, and like making them look like everything they did was justified. And you know, the truth is somewhere in the middle, that there's a lot of just atrocities and slaughters on both sides. One other thing I liked, it had a lot of maps, which were really cool, and then it had a lot of pictures of the actual Native American chiefs, which was really cool, which I hadn't really seen pictures of a lot of those guys before. And just some of the stuff too I didn't know. So a lot of the Native American chiefs, I guess, after they get killed, they cut off their heads, and now they're in the Smithsonian or at various other places. Like Geronimo's head is like at the Skull and Bones college headquarters, and they use a skull for a ceremony. So I kind of found that interesting and messed up. And like I said too, some of the battles, I didn't know that there was still like Indian wars going on into the 1920s. That was really informative, and I didn't know what a large part Native Americans played in helping America win some of the early battles against the British and the French and the Spanish. So that was really cool. Overall, I'd give this book 4 out of 5. It was just kind of too informational for me. I would have liked more kind of like stories where it was very much just like reading information. And there was some like stories, but there wasn't really enough. Each battle is only maybe 2 pages, so I get that this would be a very thick book if they would have like gone into some of the stories more in depth. But to me, that's what makes nonfiction interesting, is getting to know some of those stories more in depth, where the people are coming from, why they're fighting. And there just wasn't a lot of that. It was just a lot of, here's what happened, here's what white people did, here's what Native Americans did, here was the outcome. And it would even talk about the chiefs, but it wouldn't always go into depth about, you know, why the chiefs were fighting or whatever. One of the major ones was Chief Joseph. Like, I love the story about Chief Joseph, and they kind of touched on why he was running and fighting, but it was just very like informational. It didn't have the emotion in there about why Chief Joseph was fighting and why he was not going to fight anymore forever, and how his heart was broken because his tribe was slaughtered. And it did say that, but it was just like, here's the facts, not like a good story about it. So anyways, Indian Wars, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a pretty decent book. If you're interested in Native American history, I definitely check it out.